Call the Scottsboro work session Monday, November 16th to order. The invocation given by Gary Stewart and the pledge of allegiance to the United States.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the very many blessings you've given us. We ask now that you watch over these proceedings and they'll be pleasing in your sight. We ask that you watch over the employees and the citizens of Scottsboro. Please watch over the military and bring them home safely to their families. Guard, guide, and direct us so in the end we may all come to thee. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is to discuss awarding fuel bid. Mr. Cameron.
You have in front of you a resolution 2015-09-29. The city of Scottsboro posted one bid, mailed 5 bids by the U.S. Postal Service to receive 1 complete bid for fuel and 1 other partial bid. The lowest bid that met specifications was for the street department, 87 octane, 10.9 cents above cost. 89 octane, 10.9 cents above cost. Number 2 diesel, 11.5 cents above cost. For the cemetery and landfill, there's a slight bid difference, 0.25 cents above cost for haul. I understand that the rationale behind that is they've got very small tanks at the cemetery department, and it costs money to bring smaller amounts as opposed to larger amounts in. It is recommended by the bid review committee that the bid be awarded to J&AT Oil Company, which is headquartered in Chattanooga, Tennessee, as the only responsible bidder that met specifications. Also, I believe you need to note that the competitive bid law has changed. Effective August 1st, several minor changes were made which impact this bid and many other bids. The old preference for local preference was 3%. It is now 5%. And it also has lists of items which local preference can be provided. The local preference continues to be optional and granted only at the discretionary of the awarding authority. It also provides for several in-state preferences where the lowest responsible bidder might be what is called a foreign entity. A foreign entity, for the purposes of Alabama law, is the company does not have a place of business within the state. In our situation here, J&AT not only has a place of business in Scottsboro, but also has a Scottsboro business license. The other bidder, who has by email basically stated they know they're not going to get the bid, does not have a local license, nor does that entity have any kind of local place or established business. Another interesting thing that you're going to need to be thinking about in the near term is right now, when we deal with local preferences, we're dealing with just the city of Scottsboro. Under the new law, you have the right to expand that out to include, for example, all of Jackson County or a metropolitan area district designation that's identified by the government. Those are things that you can consider. But until you choose to do otherwise, Scottsboro and its city limits remains what you can award local preference to. The law also establishes for the first time certain preferences for women-owned enterprises, small business enterprises, minority-owned business enterprises, veteran-owned business enterprises, and a disadvantaged-owned business enterprise. And as stated previously, this is in regard to personal property and services. Those changes are things that y'all need to think about in the future. The But at this stage, the bid review committee recommends that JAT Oil be awarded as the only responsible bidder that meets specifications.
We'll put it on next week's agenda. Thank you for covering that too. Next item is discuss awarding the resolution of the oil bid.
The city of Scottsboro posted one bid, mailed 5 bids. U.S. Postal Service and received 2 bids for oil and lubricants. One bid, set of bids was from Jackson County Oil Company. The other was from Hunter Oil Company. It is recommended by the bid review committee that the bid be awarded to Jackson County Oil as the lowest responsible bidder in that specifications.
Thank you. We'll put that on next week's agenda as well. Next item is to discuss the future meeting dates. I'll go through those. We'll have a council meeting on November the 23rd. There will not be a meeting on November the 30th. And I had, in a previous council meeting, put together a committee, Brent and Tony, to look at the tax and then ask them to come back on the 30th, which they will not be able to do, and so we will not be here for a meeting. So they will report back to us on December the 14th. Then we'll go into December the 7th, we will not have a meeting due to the Christmas parade. So on the 14th, we'll have a work session and a council meeting. The 21st, we'll have a work session, and the 28th, we'll have a council meeting. And that'll wrap up the year. We'll go to number 4 on the agenda. Mr. Kenner's to discuss TDA suffrage agreement.
You have in front of you a document prepared by Tennessee Valley Authority, which is referred to as a suffrage agreement. To give you some background, in 1937, Mr. Hewitt Stein Sr. and his wife Laura Bynum sold certain properties that are near Scottsboro High School to Tennessee Valley Authority. In the mid-70s, by verbal permission, Mayor John T. Reed obtained the land where we now have Veterans Field and tennis courts down there. And the road that goes between Jefferson Drive from the creek to where it hits Veterans, or Heroes Drive now. TVA, when looking at their documents, has said, well, we haven't found any official permission that we've given to you after 40 years for your use of this property. It applies to the city and also to the school board. So what you have is an agreement which recognizes that TVA owns the property, that they will continue to use the legal phrase, suffer the city and the school system to have parts of tennis courts, parts of baseball fields, parts of a school parking lot and associated facilities on their property. That they will not charge the city anything for the use of these suffered facilities. That we recognize that if the properties are destroyed, we have to restore them to their original condition, which I believe would be swamp or dirt. That in addition, they could require us at some time in the future to restore their property to its original condition, which those of us who are old enough to remember would be swamp and dirt. And you have an attachment which shows the map. You can see that Scottsboro High School is shown in the dark area with a little flag on it. The areas that we're talking about are right around the creek, and would include part of Scottsboro High School's parking lot. It would include that vacant field where the assigned order parks things for the county fair, and where certain people park in the grassy area for baseball games. It would include the road between the stream and Heroes Drive. It would include the curbing and guttering and sidewalk by Veterans Field. It would include some of the fencing, but not all of the fencing. I don't think it would actually include any of the baseball field itself, but I think it gets the fence. It looks like it gets the parking lot for the tennis courts that have been there since I was in high school, and it looks like it may get part of the tennis courts closest to the stream. The second area we're talking about has to do with the area where the walkway is being allowed to be built. They're just giving us permission to use that property. It's their property, they've got the right to control it. They actually own or have owned Trammell Stadium. They found that out in 1981 or 2. It was a great surprise to the school when the school system found that out. And they've operated under a lease or sufferance agreement since that time. So I don't think TDA wants the fencing, nor do they want the curb and guttering, nor the part of the school parking lot. They just want to make sure everything is, all the i's are dotted and all the t's are crossed. So I'd ask you to put this on the agenda so that we can get this done.
We can do that. We'll put it on next week's agenda. Thank you. Go to reports. We do have a delegation here morning.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Council members, and the mayor's not here, but Mr. Mayor in his absence, and citizens of Scottsboro. It's always appreciated to stand up here and bring issues forward, y'all, which I've done before. Is one of the issues I want to talk about here this evening briefly is here within the past month or so, of course, and I've addressed this to Mr. Stewart and sent a copy to the city attorney here, Mr. Kennemer, expressing my concerns. And also now the city council members has it. And I want to find out a little bit more information about what has occurred, so I've submitted a records request to the city of Scottsboro, and I just discussed this with Mr. Kennemer, and he's indicated these records will be produced in very short order, as soon as they can. But I have some questions about surveillance actions against citizens and employees of the city of Scottsboro, where there is not an official investigation from either the police department or things such as a workers' comp fraud. When I am told things and read in statements from the mayor and also from Mr. Stewart here, and I'm not saying the mayor is wrong, I'm not saying Mr. Stewart is wrong, I'm not saying the right or wrong. I'm here as a citizen expressing a concern and with knowledge of basically federal personnel systems and state personnel systems. There's something that is not right here, at least from this citizen's appearance, the way I see things. The conducting of surveillance on employees off-duty time or during their lunch hour, that's not right, unless they're committing a crime. But to hire an unlicensed private investigator to do this, that's not right either. I've contacted the State Private Investigators Board. They have told me very specifically, they searched their records to ensure this investigator that was hired by the city of Scottsboro, in which, by the way, the mayor states in his statement, was hired several times by the city of Scottsboro, has conducted numerous investigations. So whatever the case may be, we'll find that out through the records request. A surveillance off-duty at lunch, or surveilling a person's house outside of law enforcement, outside of fraud. I've got a question, is that right? And what is the authority for the mayor or the officers of the city of Scottsboro to do such a thing? That's a question. I don't know what his authority is. I doubt if there's a warrant to do such. To my knowledge, there wasn't a law broken.
maybe a personnel policy problem. But shouldn't personnel policy problems be handled through the proper channels? Counseling, redress action, grievance procedures. If they don't like that, they can come to y'all. See, I don't know what's right. I just know that there's actions that should be right. And the fact that there's been surveillance brings up additional problems. Additional problems, a violation of civil rights of the employee. Fourth Amendment. There are some laws in the state of Alabama that has called aggravated surveillance. And I conducted extensive research, talked to several attorneys, talked to former council members, and asked if they had ever heard such a thing where employees are surveilled for a personnel problem. The answer was no. They'd never heard such a thing. Maybe they don't know. Maybe there has been. I don't know. But there is a problem. Review of American Bar Association documents discuss this extensively, this issue extensively. Hey, in the private sector, the private sector doesn't have as many, basically, protections as government employees do. Government employees have a lot of protections, and it's safe. So, another factor to consider, what is the effect on employee morale? Employees of this city hall in Scottsboro know about this. What is the effect on morale when the officials of the city of Scottsboro surveil the employees not for a law violation, but for personnel actions? Well, you know, the bottom line is, I'm here as a concerned citizen. I'm bringing this to you. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you to look at this. I'm also asking you, maybe it might be advisable to have an outside investigator look at this to determine if there has been a violation of state law, particularly aggravated surveillance. If the person's civil rights has been violated involved, and it's not one person, this is at least two people. And by the mayor's statement, there may be more. Now, maybe there was a justification for more to be surveilled. Maybe there was a legal violation. Maybe the employees driving a city vehicle on city time were out somewhere fishing or something. Hey, that would be an instance where maybe something should be looked into. But employees' home, surveillance of the employee's property, surveillance during lunch, outside of this building, there's something wrong with that. And I appreciate your time. If you've got any questions, right here I am.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it.
We'll go to the mayor, but the mayor is out of town, so we'll go to the council. Mr. Wallingford, do you have anything?
Thank everybody for coming out. On a personal note, I'd just like to thank everybody that came last week to pay their respects. My wife's mother passed away last week, and we had her funeral Thursday, and I appreciate the showing of everybody. And also, my mother had surgery this morning, and I'll be leaving here to visit her in the hospital, but she did well, and just would appreciate your prayers for a speedy recovery. Thank you.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Miller? Mr. Stewart?
I don't have anything.
Just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. With that, we'll adjourn. Thank you.